The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
Whether you're new to sales or a lifetime veteran, the Blackbelt Sales Podcast will sharpen your sword and guide you to master the art of sales. And now, here's your host, the ninja himself, Gene Slade.
Welcome back to another episode of the Blackbelt Sales Podcast. If you are joining us live, would you please just put live down in the comments for me? And if you're joining us on a replay, will you put replay down in the comments? It would really help us out a tremendous amount. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or something like that, you obviously won't be able to do that. But look, we love you anyways. Guys, we're going to be talking today about how to eliminate zero tickets without high pressuring your customers. Now, we don't have enough time for me to go like super deep. That would probably take 3 or 4 hours, but I'm going to give you 2 reasons right now that people are not buying from you and it's causing some pressure in the relationship. Can we agree that high pressure does not work? I mean, when you high pressure people into doing things, do they feel good about doing business with you? Does that cause problems later on? You bet it does. All right. So one of the first reasons that people are not buying from you is because they don't feel like they need whatever it is that you're offering. Have you ever been in a conversation with a customer trying to sell them something and they just seem to have zero interest at all? When you were trying to sell them that thing, were you talking at them a lot, trying to give them a bunch of information? Why do we do that? Why do we constantly give people all of this information? When I travel around the country and I talk to salespeople, the general consensus is that we want our clients to know that we know what we're doing. Am I right or am I wrong? You want your clients to know that you're technically competent, right? You want them to think that you're smart so that they will what? Starts with the T, ends with a rust. You want them to trust you. But doesn't it typically have the reverse effect when you're talking at clients? I remember when I bought my first home. It was in the city of Fenton, Michigan, and it was on municipal water. What's municipal water? Municipal water is city water, all right? And it typically contains stuff like chlorines or chloramines and all kinds of other stuff, right? Well, the water sucked, and I was having problems with rashes and dry skin and stuff like that. So I called out some water softener people. You're going to love this story. So the first guy that comes out, I was super excited to meet because I had heard that the brand of system that he carried was the best one that I could buy. Remember this, like 84% of people buy based on perceived value and only 16% buy based on price. Okay, this should be good news for you because I know that a lot of you think that you're dealing with a price objection. I'm here to tell you that it's probably not a price objection. And if it is a price objection, that's the easiest one to handle. All right, so this guy comes out to quote me a new water softening system. And he sits down at my round glass table in my front room and opens up this yellowed sheet of newspaper and begins to talk about his resin. Now, I didn't know what the heck resin was. And so when he said resin, I went on a little day trip. Has this ever happened to you where a client's talking to you, maybe at the end of a call, you've already got payment, you've got your clipboard, you're ready to go, you've got another call to go to, and they just keep yakking at you? And then you kind of fade out. And then all of a sudden, 3-4 minutes later, you come back and you can see them crystal clear again. You realize you weren't listening. It's exactly what was happening here. When he said resin, I went, resin. I don't know what resin is. Only resin I remember or have heard of was that ball that my brother brought home and left on the table. And my mom found it. He was in trouble, right? Like, I had no idea what this guy was talking about. And as things came back crystal clear for me, as I could start to see him again and start to hear him again, I said to myself, oh my gosh, this is what I have been doing to my customers. I've been talking about SEER and AFUE and the flux capacitor, right? Because I was an HVAC salesman at the time. And I realized at that moment that I was talking at my clients instead of really engaging them. So how do we do this? How do we engage the client? By the way, I stopped the guy and I went, hey, stop. And he said, yeah. And I said, what's resin? Turns out resin's these tiny little balls that are in a water softener that have got these little cracks in them, and they've got a specific charge, and they attract calcium and magnesium, hold on to it until the tank can't hold anymore, and then salt water comes in, flushes it all off, recharges it, and the process starts over. That was a quick little tidbit about how a softener works if you're in the HVAC field, or maybe you're a plumber and you don't even know. But that was what I found out that day. So let's get back to why they're not buying. They're not feeling like they need it. When somebody talks at you, you have got to, yes or no, you have got to filter through the information that they're giving you and decide whether or not you're going to accept it as true or false. Yes or no. Put it down in the comments. If this is the case, yes or no. When somebody talks at you, when they are giving you information or trying to educate you, which I hate, by the way, you have to decide almost in an instant as they're giving you information, is this true or false? Yes or no down in the comments. The answer is yes. And this creates a certain amount of fatigue with the client because they're having to run stuff through their BS meter. Well, that's because you're talking at them. Let me give you an example. I'm out on an HVAC call, and I'm just using that just because I've got an easy example. I'm out on an HVAC call, and a client does not have a surge protector. Two different ways that I can handle this. First way is to talk at them and go, you don't have a surge protector. We get 1 million cloud-to-ground lightning strikes per year here in this area. And when that happens, we get in-home surges. And when we get in-home surges, your compressors and your motors can glow cherry red on the inside. And that's not good. And that reduces your reliability. And that reduces the lifespan of the system and could cause you to have to replace a compressor. And compressors are like $3,500. So you want me to do it? You want a surge protector? Are you interested in a surge protector? No, not at all, because I'm talking at you, right? And you're not getting an opportunity to feel good. Now, when we become enlightened, we tend to feel good. Your job, remember this, your job is to make people feel good about buying from you. Okay, don't ever forget that. I got to rewind a little bit. Okay, so here's a different example of all of the same information that I just gave you in the surge protector script. And we do this at Lead Ninja for everything, by the way. This is how we get clients to come to their own conclusion that something needs to be done because they have a problem. They've got to come to their own conclusion that there's a problem. Otherwise, it's going to be an arm wrestling match the entire time. You want to know how to make sales easy? I'm giving you the secret sauce right now. Okay, so please pay close attention. So I gave a bunch of statements before. Now let's flip those around and let's turn them into questions. And by the way, why would I turn statements into questions? Well, if somebody's asking you a question, can you shut your brain off? Can you go on that resin trip that I went on with my water softener person, or are you required to stay engaged? That's right. So when I ask a client a question, they must stay engaged. Their brain must stay engaged. And I actually get to control what they're thinking if I do it right. So here's an example of asking questions instead of just puking all over the client, right? And before I do this, if you're watching us live, please put live down in the comments. If you're watching us on a replay, please put replay down in the comments. It truly, truly does help us as a company to get out to more people. If we're doing this for free for you, you can do that for us, right? Okay, so here's some of the questions. You ready? Why don't you have surge protection? Did you know that we get over 1.1 million cloud to ground lightning strikes a year here, and that when that happens, we get in-home surges? And did you know that when we get in-home surges, that your compressors and your motors can glow cherry red on the inside? Do you think that's good? What do you suppose that does to the reliability of the system? How about the lifespan? Have you ever purchased a new compressor before? So then you weren't aware that a new compressor could cost you $3,000, $4,000, even $5,000 these days? Can you see now why all of our clients just get surge protection rather than replacing expensive compressors and motors, maybe even the whole system? Now, how many statements did I make there? Put it down in the comments. How many statements did I make there? First examples, statements. Second example, there were only questions. There wasn't one statement there. Now, when this happens, I get to bypass that truth-false filter that we talked about before. Do you remember when we said if I'm talking at you, if I'm giving you information that's not in the form of a question, that you got to run it through your BS meter and decide whether it's true or false? Do you know that that actually causes some fatigue? Did you know that when I'm asking you questions that there's no fatigue there, and it's almost like you're getting energy because you're getting new enlightenment. You're learning new things and you're not being preached at. Did you like it when people preached at you in school? Was that a good way for you to learn? How many questions have I asked you on this video already or on this podcast already? If you listen to it a second time, consider going ahead and keeping track, because we train the same way that we teach people how to sell. Now, look, I'm going to give you another way to help to eliminate zero tickets. This is the number one way to get a client to come to their own conclusion that something needs to be done. When they determine that something needs to be done, it's almost impossible to stop them from getting it fixed. Okay, and that's good for everybody. It's a win-win-win, right? Now, there's another way that I'm going to help you to eliminate zero tickets today, and this increased my closing ratio by 20%. Before I give that to you, I'm going to pay some bills, and I'm going to share with you that the next class, the next live event, I'm not talking about our mastermind stuff that we do twice a week. We do virtual coaching. So if you're ever interested, if you need help, we can do that for you, and you don't have to come all the way to us. But the next event is in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. And I don't know if you've ever been to Gatlinburg or Pigeon Forge, but it is one of the most beautiful areas in the country. We've got an 18,000 square foot mansion up in the mountains that's on about 4 acres that we're going to be bringing people into September 29th through October 3rd. Now, you want to get set up for this right away, because we are able, at this place, we're able to do tickets to this class cheaper than we have ever been able to do them before. Super, super cheap. Like as inexpensive, I'm not even going to tell you right now, but you're going to want to get some information on that, like ASAP. If you want to get pricing and everything, text me. Text my direct phone number at 239-848-6533. 239-848-6533, and just say, hey, Gene, my name is XYZ. I want information on the mansion. And I'll either get on the phone with you or we'll hop on a Zoom together. All right. At this class, people come out and they 4X, 5X, 6X, 10X, and more their average tickets and their incomes. And as a result, their lives. So you want to be here. I'm going to roll a video real quick for you. Check out this video. It'll give you a couple pictures of the place. I'm sorry for those of you that are on podcasts right now, but hang with me or fast forward like 60 seconds and roll that video.
If somebody was hesitant about coming to the Lead Ninja Mastermind, I'll tell them this. You can't afford not to go. It's going to change your life, but not only your life, your family's life.
Are
You don't have to wait a year to start making the kind of money that you want to make. Corbin came out of here and within 30 days went from $250,000 to $500,000 in sales. So it doesn't take long as you put in the work.
The difference between others and this one's a lot more direct and a lot more informative in certain areas to help you overcome certain obstacles, where the other ones are just kind of broad for everybody. Last month, my total revenue for the month was only $5,200. We still have about 10 days left of the month, and I'm already at $13,500.
Yes, I have scripted out for you word for word exactly how to tell them about the money.
If you're struggling to get to that next level, this is the class that you need to be in.
So as you can see, there's a lot going on at these events. I typically bring out our lead ninja barber, Hawk Jenkins, and we do not just internal transformations, but external transformations as well. And I wish I had pictures of our most recent, my favorite transformation from the last mansion event. Name's Tommy, came in with his hair down past his shoulders. And when he left, he had like a model style haircut. I mean, the dude looked good and we paid for it. It's part of the event. So just so you know, we're going to serve you breakfast, lunch, we're going to serve you dinner, likely have private chefs for breakfast and at least for one of the evenings for a really nice dinner for y'all. And then you're going to stay with us in that 18,000 square foot mansion. It's got 21 bedrooms in it. So there's plenty of room for everybody. And you can fit up to 3 people in one of the king suites. So if you need more information on that, please get your tickets now. I truly believe that this one will sell faster than any of our other events. Just text me at 239-848-6533. Now, let's get back to the second thing that is going to help you to eliminate zero tickets without being high pressure. And it's the F word, okay? Financing. Now, we don't say the F word here at Lead Ninja, but I had to say it for you so you knew what I was talking about. We call them easy payment plans, all right? And we rarely even say that. So let's set the stage, okay? You have created a list. I know that you probably are not doing this, but let's just say that for giggles, you created a list for the clients of everything that's going wrong with their system that needs to be addressed right away, things that you think they might need to do in the near future, and then heck, how about just some nice stuff to have? Maybe a tankless water heater, maybe a generator, maybe a nice indoor air quality system, maybe a water filtration system, maybe it's solar, I don't know. But it's something that would be nice to have that you don't even think that they'll be interested in. But we're going to give them some stuff to say no to, okay? So you've presented this list to your client, and internally, they can't see how they can afford it. Maybe it's $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 worth of stuff, which is not a lot of money nowadays when it comes to an average ticket. But let's just say, by the way, quick statistic. Did you know that something like 60 or 70% of Americans don't have $600 in their savings account? So can you see how if you're presenting things that a client is probably going to be holding on tight to that money just in case crap happens? So if they can't see how they can afford something that you're offering, can you see how they might be shutting you down and giving you objections like, I want to think about it, or I need to talk to my spouse, or things like that? Those are typically a veiled price objection. What's a veil? What does a bride wear? Yeah, that thing that covers her face, right? It's something that covers something up. So the I want to think about it objection is typically a veiled I don't trust you objection or a veiled price objection. And they're embarrassed. They don't want to tell you that they can't afford to spend the money on it right now. How did you feel when your parents told you we can't afford it? Was that a good feeling? Is it a good feeling to tell somebody else that you can't afford something? Does that create embarrassment? Were you aware that embarrassment is like one of the number one fears of a human being that will do just about anything to avoid it? So how do we help your clients to avoid embarrassment, to get the things that they need, and to be able to see that they can afford it? So I'm going to share one very deadly close with you right now. So a client says to me, Gene, am I going to get a copy of this? And I'll say yes. And they'll go, okay, well, I just need to think about it. Just give me a day or two and I'll call you. Maybe a week and I'll call you. That's more than likely a price objection. So I'm going to go, that's not a problem. Before I take off, is there anything on this list that you feel is overkill or unnecessary? Now, why would I ask that question? Wouldn't it be nice to know if there were things on the list that they didn't feel that they needed? Wouldn't it be nice to be able to narrow down what it was that they were thinking they might do, that they might call you back about? Wouldn't that help? Wouldn't it also help if you just crossed those things off the list like it was no big deal and reduced the amount of pressure that the client was feeling? So if they say, yeah, that stuff down there at the bottom, Gene, that you said would be nice to have, I'm just going to cross it off with my pencil. Then I'm going to ask them again, is there anything else on this list that you feel is overkill or unnecessary? If they say yes, I'll cross it off and I'll ask again, anything else that you feel is overkill or unnecessary? Once they say no, what have we determined? We've determined that that's the stuff that they have zeroed in on. That's the stuff that they may or may not go ahead with if you are a decent communicator and if you've got the right way of showing them that they can afford it. Okay. So I'll go, so you do feel that all the rest of this needs to be done? And they'll go, yeah. And I'll go, and you're not just saying that to be nice to me? This is a really, really important thing to say. I'm not going to dive into the psychology of it right now, but it's super important. They'll usually say, no, I'm not just being nice to you. Now I'm going to have some guts, and I'm going to have to ask them if it's the money. And I ask it in a very specific way. Level with me. How do you feel about the money? Not what do you think about it? How do you feel about it? Because this is an emotional transaction that we want to have here. Okay. They're probably going to say it's a lot of money. That's like 90% of the time what they're going to say. All right. This is beautiful because if I can predict what people are going to say, I can develop a plan. Yes or no? Is it better to go in with a plan? If I go in with a pre-planned presentation and I've done it 1,000 times, can you see how I might be able to go on autopilot and see things that other salespeople are not able to see? Things like head nodding, things like pupil dilation. Different kinds of body language that would tell me what's going on inside of their head mentally. All right. So how do you feel about the money? It's a lot of money, Gene. This is where you're going to have some cojones. Okay. And you've got to be soft with the client, but you're going to have to ask them, do you have that much money? Not, do you have that much money? Not like a jerk. Right? But as somebody who cares, somebody who's compassionate, somebody that feels like, look, this client needs this thing and it's my job to help them figure out how to get it, right? Not like I'm trying to extract a bunch of money from them. If you think about your pay, your commissions, your spiffs while you're in the house, I'm telling you, you're doing it wrong. Stop worrying about your money. Start helping your client. Get your pre-planned presentations down so that you can go on autopilot. All right, so let's rewind. How do you feel about the money? It's a lot of money, Gene. Do you have that much money? I'm here to tell you that even if you're afraid to ask that question, this is when it's going to come out. And they're going to feel relieved. They're going to go, no, I don't have the money, right? This is where the magic comes in. You're just going to say, when will you have the money? They're going to say, I don't know. You're going to say, take a guess. They're going to say, I don't know. And you're going to say, take a guess. And that's when it will come out. They'll say something like, probably by the next time you guys come out here, or 12 months from now. Question for you. If you're coming out there 6 months from now, do you guys have a 6-month no interest program that you could put that client on? Now, I'm not going to ask you to pitch no interest programs. You want to stop doing that. Everybody does that, and you will look the same as everybody else. All right. Here's what you're going to say. So you'll have it in 6 months. When they say yes, you say, all right, I'll go ahead and take care of it for you, and you can pay for it when you get the money. half of the clients will actually go, really? And when you say yes, they'll say, okay. All you've got to do at that stage of the game is get them to fill out the application for the payment plan. All right. Now, half of the clients are going to go, how does that work? I'm essentially going to repeat myself. I'm going to go, I take care of it for you now, and you pay for it when you get the money. Now that'll help. That'll close about 50% of the people that are left. The last ones will typically be your high C's on the DISC profile. They're the engineers, the accountants, the ones that love details. They drive me crazy. I don't know if you're anything like that, but they drive me absolutely bonkers because I'm a high D. I make decisions quickly with limited amounts of information, right? And for somebody like me, those people are the worst to deal with. But if you stick with them, they will buy too. So you're going to reply to those people. You're going to get a statement in the mail every month. You're going to pay $59 or whatever that monthly payment is, and then the balance in 6 months, and shake your head. That should get the rest of them. Guys, when I started doing this, I went from a 72.36% closing ratio to a 95% closing ratio almost overnight. Now, I did change one other thing that I don't have time to go over today, but these are the two things that you can do. You're going to want to rewind this tape and write down the different parts of that script, that payment plan script, and use it exactly the way that I gave it to you, word for word, and then report back to me. I want to see how much it increases the closing ratio that you have right now and even your average tickets. Okay, so those are two ways. First way is to ask thought-provoking questions at the right time when you're doing your findings report with the client. Don't talk at them. Don't puke on them. Change those statements into thought-provoking questions. Last little tip here, and then I'm going to jet. There are 6 different ways that you've heard us give you before. If you haven't heard us give these to you before, this is how you turn a statement into a thought-provoking question. You change the first couple of words to question words like, did you know? So you didn't know? Were you aware? So you weren't aware. Do you suppose? Would you believe? We could use other ones like, can you imagine? There's a bunch, but just take those 6, okay? And start tacking those on to the beginning of the information that you're giving your clients, and just watch how they respond to you differently. I promise it will change the game for you forever. You will never go back to the old way, because once you get your clients to come to their own conclusion that something needs to be done, everything just becomes so much easier. All right. They begin to feel like laydowns. I promise you, this stuff works. I'm going to sign off. If you want more information about the Mansion event coming up September 29th through October 3rd, please hit me up with a DM or shoot me a text at 239-848-6533. And if you're listening to us on Spotify or on Apple Podcasts, man, we would really, really just absolutely love it if you would shoot over and just give us a review. Man, hopefully it'll be 5 stars for the content that we bring into you, but that certainly does help to get the podcast out to more people and help us to help people like you. Somebody did that for you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be here. So please pay that forward to somebody else. Help other people to get involved. Hell, share the stream. I appreciate it, guys. Signing out again from the Blackbelt Sales Podcast. I'll have Don back with me on Thursday, it looks like. But until then, go out and slay some dragons, guys. I love you. Have a great day, ninjas. Bye.